Hi, I'm Victoria Buddie, and today you're watching Minutes with B. I want you to begin about thinking what items consume your closet. If it's fast fashion, your fashion is rapidly becoming unsustainable. Fast fashion is defined as cheap, trendy clothing that samples ideas from the catwalk or celebrity culture. According to an April 2016 Oxfam report, more than 60 million people work in the garment industry to fuel fast fashion. More than 15 million of those are based in Asia, and more than 80% are women, often young and from poor rural backgrounds. Stores such as Zara, H&M, and Forever 21 are contributing to this environmental crisis as they sell effortless trends for highly affordable prices. Factories in Bangladesh underpay their employees at the average wage for garment workers at about $30 a month. All of these effects and factors mold the garment industry and fast fashion to its name. When we think about the approach to the design, creation, and marketing of clothing, we realize that we are a part of the problem. Fast fashion is unsustainable, and the first step to slowing down this industry is asking the why before you buy. As I searched into my closet, I removed almost every piece of clothing that belongs to the fast fashion industry. You may ask that how come this series focuses on a self-investigative, problematic issue? Well, I've realized that as people, we are so quick to judge or point out how one another can make a difference, but we fail to self-evaluate or investigate how simply we have become part of an issue that is part of an unsustainable and unethical industry. We live in a society where our clothing represents our personalities. However, there is a way of making unique fashion statements without destroying the environment. For myself, fashion has been a form of expression, identity, and a form of motivation. However, throughout my lifetime, the fashion that I have consumed has been due to wanting to look good for a cheaper price. Bargain shopping is quick, but as I've reflected on my own fast fashion choices, I've realized that I have failed to consider the cause and effects of the garments and stores I've been shopping at. Synthetic fibers in these clothing items cut down at least 70 million trees annually. Polyester, which is the most common fiber used in apparel from these companies, use 70 million barrels of oil each year and take 200 years to break down in a landfill. Despite the negative effects on the environment, shoppers love fast fashion, and we must find a way to bring it to an end. The eco-friendly fashion industry is alive but cannot help promote change if consumers don't buy. Therefore, I've decided that I, Victoria Buddie, am part of this problematic global crisis. The garment industry is so powerful that we sometimes forget that our fast fashion habits are contributing to large factors such as climate change. During March, I decided to reach out to freelance sustainable fashion journalist Jasmine Chua, who has been a writer and editor and has 2 decades of publishing experience. She is an expert in the fashion industry's social and environmental impact, sustainable fibers, textiles, fashion history, and culture. Jasmine is named as a sustainable resource for the Council of Fashion Designers of America and been featured in multiple platforms like the New York Times and Vogue. So I reached out to Jasmine and I had a FaceTime call with her on some very important concerns and questions about the unethical fashion industry to better understand the importance of this global crisis.
How would you describe fast fashion to someone who has no clue about how the garment industry is destroying our planet and affecting climate change?
I would describe it as a business model of producing clothes really quickly and cheaply. So we're talking about very quick turnarounds of just 4 seasons or 4 collections a year. You're talking about a collection every week, and they're usually made from cheaper materials such as polyester or acrylic, and made in developing countries where workers are not being paid a living wage, and actually they're paid much below that. They call them poverty wages. It used to be that we would buy every season maybe a nice coat or a nice pair of boots, but we're shopping every day now and in huge quantities. And there's this purge and binge and purge process where we're just buying and then we're throwing them away, buying new clothes and throwing them away. So of course, if you tell the brands that you shop for, I would really like to know who made your clothes. Are your workers being paid a living wage? I mean, you may not feel like you're very strong as one single voice, but the more people join into that chorus, I mean, the more brands will actually listen and think about how they are doing business.
How would you convince someone to shop more sustainably, even if they adore stores like H&M, Zara, and Fashion Nova?
Why are you shopping? You know, are you shopping because you really love fashion and you crave that novelty? Or are you shopping to fill like a need, like psychologically, like why you're shopping as well? In terms of novelty, there are lots of ways that you can get that now with rental programs, which are great. So you can rent them, you don't have to own them, and you can bring them back. You don't have to go to a Goodwill or Salvation Army anymore. You can go online. Like ThreadUp is a really huge online e-tailer that sells secondhand clothing. And there are places like Poshmark, Depop, the peer-to-peer selling systems. With technology, there are so many options that it's easy to shift our practice to just considering how we're buying things a little more mindfully. In terms of cost, I know cost is a huge thing because buying good quality clothing costs a lot more. But there's this equation that you can think about as in cost per wear. So if you buy a pair of shoes for like $100 and you say you wear them 10 times, that's like $10 per wear. But maybe a cheaper pair of shoes, you might be able to wear them twice, and the cost per wear might be just the same, if not more. So it's about thinking about how you can stretch out your budget, maybe save more of your money towards buying that one great thing that you will love for years and years, rather than many disposable things that you'll tire of or will come apart. All this fast fashion that they're receiving, there is in such poor quality that they don't have any use for them other than tossing them out or incinerating them.
In addition to Jasmine's expertise, the garment and textile industry has become one of the world's largest polluters, and that is why it is so important to find a solution to our bad habits as consumers. What has fueled me to think, purchase, and dress more sustainably is the fact that Bangladesh is the wettest country in the world, containing the most fresh water resources. However, due to the speedy and needy industry, Bangladesh produces about 52 million liters of contaminated water annually, which is equal to about 22,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools of contaminated water. The contaminated water is due to the chemicals needed to create the trendy and aesthetically pleasing products that fast fashion companies enforce to be produced. This means that factories in countries like this one get priority over people, which makes their citizens second to essential supplies such as fresh drinking water. The textile industry's impact on the environment and people has placed us in an uncomfortable situation where our so-called needs have become more important than citizens' lives and the health of our planet. I was able to reach out to Professor Ouellette, an Adrian College professor with 25 years of fashion industry research and experience, about how the speedy movement of fashion must slow down.
How has fast fashion become so unsustainable and unethical?
Because their goal is to produce large quantities of trendy clothing very quickly. What the problem is that there's many of them are made out of polyester, nylon, acetate, maybe rayon. These are all something that fall underneath a manufactured textile and manufactured fiber category. So you can make as much polyester and nylon as you like. You can make it whatever ways you want, and you can make large quantities very quickly, cheaply. Unlike waiting for the wool to grow on a sheep or the cotton to grow in a field, you can produce a lot of manufactured fibers very quickly and modify them in ways that they can take on characteristics or performance properties of whatever that trend is right away. As the trends change, maybe it's something that fabric that's really lustrous and shiny. Polyester can be produced very quickly to be very lustrous and shiny. Maybe the next season the trend is just the opposite. So you can use manufactured fibers, modify them very, very quickly to keep up with the trends. So really, fast fashion is meant to have a very short life. We might wear them out. We may only wear them a couple of times, but we lose interest in those products very quickly. So then what do we do with them? We throw them out. We put them in a landfill, or we might give those away. So what bothers me is that I came from a generation that knew what good, high quality clothing was like. That just doesn't really necessarily exist very much anymore. We either have really, really cheap fashion, or we have very, very expensive kind of luxury fashion. The younger generations right now are so used to buying a lot of products, thinking that trendy is the only way to go. I see it changing, but I don't see it changing fast enough.
Do you think that fast fashion will ever be sustainable? Or what do you think would be the next move to maybe slow it down?
In fact, there is a move for something called slow fashion, and it really is taking almost kind of the opposite extreme of fast fashion. The brands, of course, still are going to continue to exist, like H&M and Zara, and they have really focused, and their foundation has been on fast fashion. So to be able to change that for them is very difficult. H&M, for example, is one of the largest buyers of organic cotton. Okay, that's fine. But one of the things, it doesn't stop that organization from producing, really kind of overproducing a lot of products, right? What they need to do is stop producing so much. Just simply slowing down and not producing quite so many products would be great. But these companies are so driven to make a profit. They're so driven to make products. And right now, labor is very, very cheap. Until that process also changes, there's no incentive necessarily for these organizations to change their fast fashion strategy. One other piece that I think that people don't necessarily think of, and that is really rethinking what aesthetically pleasing and trendy products are. The fact that who says that we have to have trendy products all the time? This is the culture in which we live, and I really would love to see us really garner some information from the sustainable industries and other industries that are becoming much more sustainable. Learning from them that would really help us to completely change the way that we look at fashion with regard to the fact we don't have to consume. Something that is aesthetically pleasing can be something that is recycled. Maybe it's upcycled, so we take a couple of skirts and we fashion it together to make something different. That too can be just as trendy and aesthetically pleasing.
Hello, I'm Victoria Buddie, and thanks for watching. As citizens of a global crisis, we can begin by changing the fast fashion industry by not choosing aesthetics over ethics. When we think about purchasing clothing, we must ask ourselves, what is the true cost of our items, and do they complement who we are? If they add to our identity, we must then ask if it's fast fashion, and will or has this garment affected our environment? We can be a part of the change and bring the lack of sustainability and crippling effects of fast fashion to a rapid end if we think critically and prioritize what we wear and what was the process to make the specific garment, rather than admiring the consumption of clothing and effortless trends to spend carelessly.